Welcome to the Everton Army podcast. My name's John. I'm joined by Andrew, Lee, and Shane, and we're just going to do a little Arsenal preview. But first, we're going to start off with Farhad Moshiri. It's 7 years to the day yesterday since he took over Everton or bought shares in the club. Since then, we've seen 8 permanent managers, 3 directors of football. We've spent £40 million hiring and firing those guys in the staff. We've seen the board become the second highest paid in the league. 0 trophies, 2 relegation battles, an average league finish of 10th, and we've just gone down and down ever since. Andrew, I'll start with you, mate. Farhad Moshiri's tenure as the Everton owner, what would you rate it out of 10?
Do you accept numbers below 0?
Yes, we will.
Okay, I'm going to go with a -4.
Yeah.
Only because maybe tons of money will start rolling in once the stadium's done. And then I'll give him a 2.
Yeah.
That happens.
That's being generous.
So part of the pitch that my friend gave me when I was looking for a Premier League team to support, he's like, well, Everton were always really scrappy and on the verge of contendership. And now we've got our billionaires. So Everton will be like a hipster pick for 2024.
Yeah.
And that was actually what he said. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds kind of good. I like the fan base is really what I'm gelling with, the identity, the passion, and still got that, but the billionaire hasn't really done fuck all, has he?
Yeah, that's true.
It seems to me that Everton is more of a money laundering operation for managers than anything else.
It could be, it's starting. We've seen all these conspiracies floating around, and you know what, you wouldn't throw any of them out the window at the moment. They're all legit. Like, Lee, what about you, mate? What do you make of his tenureship? We know obviously you're very active in the campaigns and such. So how would you sum up Moshiri's 7 years?
I'm trying to figure out the right word here. It's shocking. It's being polite. I don't want to sound like go too far, but yeah, it's what I said in the chat before, abject failure.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he's done. He's promised us a lot and delivered on very little. There's only one thing that he's, half delivered on so far, and that's that lovely looking stadium on Bramley Moor Dock.
Yeah.
Or on everything else, I mean, even going back as little as 3 weeks ago, promises a striker, we will get one.
Yeah.
His words, not mine.
Yeah.
I mean, did he get stuck in John Lennon Airport or something? I still haven't seen no striker.
No.
It's shocking. It's just one bad decision after another, and it's just snowballed into a second relegation on the run now.
Yeah.
And their failings at boardroom level have massively impacted. Certainly the last 4 managers haven't been able to spend the money that the previous 4 managers were able to spend.
Yeah.
So we just went from one bad decision to another.
Yeah,
and it doesn't seem like there's been any contingency plan or anyone just going, hang on, let's pull the brakes on this. This gung-ho approach isn't working for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Let's put a stop to it. They just carried on.
Yeah, they did, yeah. And you feel like, once they got round to this strategic review, first of all, they didn't do it comprehensively. It was all done in-house and everything. And second of all, it could be too late. Shane, what about you, mate? 8 permanent managers, 3 directors of football. How do you feel about Moshiri's ownership?
Well, I think the only thing you can, I don't know if commend is the word, but it's just literally the pure cash flow that he's put in. He hasn't known what to do with it, and we've completely, fluffed up the wall sort of thing. But he has put the money into the club, and then the other thing being, like Lee said, the stadium. But like you say, there's just been no plan, no execution of it. And then after those 7 years, we're further back than what we were when he come in.
Yeah,
which is it just feels like a broken promise sort of thing, because like Andrew said, when he's been advised on who to support sort of thing, when he's coming into it, it's like we were on the verge of what we thought the thing missing was the money.
Yeah.
We needed that injection, and we got that, and there was just no plan. Like you say, that amount of managers, just no sporting directors. We've gone through them, and just nothing's worked. So yeah, he's put the money in, but there's been no plan, which is the whole and soul of why it's not worked. And now, like Graham said, umpteen times, it's we've had no plan with that money, but now for other clubs, we are the blueprints, we are the plan not to follow with what they're doing and what they're spending.
Yeah, 100%.
He spends his time like cosplaying like Premier League owner. He's so easily swayed by the worst people, like Ken Wright, like fucking Kia Jarabshian, like Abramovich, which I feel like was Abramovich just having a fun time messing with him.
Yeah,
because that's how he got Rafa. Was the Bond villain meeting on 2 super yachts in Sardinia. Just like, oh yeah, Rafa was great 20 years ago. He'll be awesome for you. Let's not take into consideration his success level, let alone his heritage. But let's just say, where has he been? What has he been doing well? So it's the worst possible guy to not have cleaned house when he came in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it boils down to. If I was to rate him, I would go on a -5, somewhere around there, just because of the whole Rafa Benitez thing. I can't believe he actually put the fans through that. I cannot believe that he thought it was a good idea to appoint Rafa Benitez as the manager. That's just shocking. On top of everything else, why would you leave the board intact and not bring your own guys in? It's like, you go into a house it's made fairly solid, it's got good foundations, and you just start fucking breaking the walls down for nothing. Like, that's what he's done, and just destroyed the foundations that were already there. It feels like it's harder to do that than actually, pull us in the right direction. It's such a strange thing. Like, 2 relegation battles now in his 7 years, and it's just not good enough. Like, we've got the lowest points per game this season that we had in our entire history, and the lowest goals per game that we've had in our entire history this season also. So
we've also scored the least amount of goals in all 4 professional divisions in this country.
Yeah. Do we get a trophy for that? I hope so.
You'll never sing that?
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, well, let's move on to Arsenal then, because I just get angry talking about Farhad Moshiri, to be fair, especially after that interview he done, a couple of weeks back with Jazz Bal. It's just full of fluff, really. That's the kindest way to put it. So, go on, mate.
Quick to touch on something that we said coming out the ground on Saturday. Is one of his very first quote was, "We don't want to be a museum."
Yeah.
Well, you turned us into a fucking morgue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's true. He's destroyed us. But it just doesn't make sense. Like, how have you earned your billions or millions and whatever you've been doing previously? And it doesn't matter if you don't know anything about that business. You still make sure that if your money's on the line, you make sure you get the right people in place that are not going to lose your money. It's just weird. Like, the whole situation is weird. It makes me think like he's just fluked his way to those billions of pounds. Do you know what I mean? Or done something dodgy to get there, because he seems to have no clue how to run a football club. Do you know what I mean? It's just weird. But yeah, we'll just move on to Arsenal then. And obviously Calvert-Lewin is still out. Sean Dyche said in the press conference he's recovering, but there's no time scale. Andrew, he was touch and go for the derby, and that was about 3 weeks ago now. So it's I'm getting fed up with talking about Calvert-Lewin. Don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect to see him for the rest of the season, if I'm honest. Like, I'm just kind of over it. I want him to do well for us, for anyone. I like the guy. I like that he, has his own character, his own way of being. I don't think that, unless he did his ACL doing a runway show in stilettos, I don't give a shit what his extracurriculars are, because it has not affected his football. The board has affected his football.
Yeah.
So I hope he does well, but if he shows up at any point in the next 3 months, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, you don't get injuries being into fashion. Just want to put that out there. It's people are going on like it's his fault, Lee. It's he's been badly let down by the board, as Andrew said. It's clearly not his fault.
Yeah. Well, I heard something as well that Rafa tried to bring him back far too early.
Yeah, he did. That's what done it.
I mean, that injury, no one knew at the time, besides the people at Everton, but that injury could have ended his career.
Yeah.
And if you get an injury like that, you leave no stone unturned in making sure that that person is 100% able to come back.
Yeah.
And because of the situation we found ourselves in, the lack of cash Benitez got to spend, you can sort of half understand it. But then we didn't realise the extent of the injury. Benitez would have known.
Yeah,
so
he did.
It's on the board, and a lot of it's on Benitez for bringing him back far too early.
He felt like, Benitez, he actually got rid of the whole physio staff and brought his own guys in. And for whatever reason, he thought he knew better than the physio staff that were already there. Obviously, we were having loads of injuries, so our success rate wasn't very good to begin with. But he's just completely destroyed what was left of Calvert-Lewin. Shane, that's another reason why I think Moshiri's ownership has been so bad, because he allowed Benitez to do stuff like that.
Yeah. He's just every time he's been injured, we're rushing him back that quick, and it's just ill-advised sort of thing. And
yeah,
I feel like at this point I'm just stabbing in the dark, but I feel like it could be like the Sancho situation.
Yeah,
I feel like it could be like a mental thing. It could be like and the way Sancho, but difference is again is the club and the manager coming out and speaking about stuff like that and telling you outright he's not ready, he's not coming back, and you won't see him.
Yeah,
or he's training on his own or whatever. Like the transparency is like night and day sort of thing with that sort of stuff with other clubs.
Yeah.
But it was I sent into the chat earlier like the goal contributions of players, and like seeing that like over the past 2 seasons he's made 30 appearances on starting and off the bench.
Yeah.
And he's only scored 9 times. So it's like, I love the lad and I love him as a player. I love that type of striker, but then it just shows how far back we've gone, that we're hanging our hopes on a striker to come back. That's not even, he's just about scoring 1 in 3 games, and we're holding this lad up to such pressure and such high hopes because of the lack of talent and the lack of power we've got up front. That on a player with those stats and stuff, that we're wanting this lad to come back. And I think for me now, like Andrew, I if he didn't come back for the rest of the season, I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't think we can. Myself as well, can keep open that after each game that Dice is going to come out and say he's back next week, because I think, like we've said before as well, we've just got a plan for the future. Plan for the future without Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah,
and that's not me saying I want him out the club. That's just me being realistic with, like I say, over the past 2 seasons, the lack of games he's had. That as a club we need to look forward, but then it's hard when you've got we're now relying on Sims and Mopai up front.
Yeah, which is why January was so important. It looks like it's damned us. It really does. Andrew, and this stat in particular, we had the most touches in an opposition penalty area at the weekend there against Aston Villa. It's going to be a different game versus Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah, especially because they're no longer flying. They're back in a fight. They're not 8 points clear like they were when they came to Goodison.
Yeah.
And we generally don't do great at the Emirates. So I'm not excited for this one at all.
No.
But that touch in the opposition's box, I wonder if that's per player or per like boot touching ball, because if so, that was 100% Doucouré just trying to get it unfucked out from under his feet.
Yeah, pinball shins, yeah. So Lee, how would you see us setting up then, mate? Because what do we need to do to get something out of this? And do you think Onana should be used a bit higher up as a target man, because that seems to be what we were doing against Aston Villa. We were kind of launching the ball up to him, but at the same time, neither him or Decore looked anywhere comfortable up in around the box. So what would you do? How would you set up?
Well, me personally, I would go with Sims and Gray. Have Gray as your third midfielder, dropping in. I know he's not known for his defensive work, but that extra body in there, and he is quick. But I think Dyche will go with the same formula that beat Arsenal. I mean, which in a way you can see because it's worked against them once. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work again.
Yeah.
But he hasn't really changed it much in the 4 games he's been in charge. So with this big of a game and it being away from home, I can't see him changing it too much.
Yeah.
I think Sims might start instead of Mopai. I think that'll be, if he is to make a change, if there's no injuries, I think that'll be the one change. But I personally would like to see Gray come in as well.
Wasn't Dom in for the first Arsenal game though?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it was Dom, and then he switched it to Sims, didn't he? And then Mopai's played the last 2. Well, started the last 2 anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Shane, do you feel like it would be more of the same from Dyche with that 5 in midfield? Because do you feel like if he goes 4-4-2, we'll just get swamped in midfield with their passing and their ability to break the lines?
Yeah, that as much as I'd like to see Sims and Mopai up front, if it was me, I'd have after last game and just the inconsistency, I'd probably put I'd like to see Gray out wide instead of Iwobi. Have McNeil on the left and then Mopai up front with Sims. But then I don't think we can rely enough on either Onana Decore or Onana Gay or any of those formulations. But yeah, I think it'll probably be more of the same. Just sort of sticking to his gun. He hasn't really got much other options to go with.
Yeah.
The thing that worries me most about the game, even though you just said there as well, which is another worry, obviously, is the midfield, because now they've got Odegaard, Jorginho, and Partey, as well as the players they can bring in. Is that Mykhalenko and Saka sad? I think Coleman's probably playing some of his best football he's played in a couple of years, so I don't really. I trust him to keep hold of Martinelli or whoever starts on the left, but that left side, for our left side, worries me.
Yeah, definitely.
I would trust to hope and invert the wingers and just leather them from distance and just hope that there's a mistake in there. Because that's how Gray did him last season. And McNeil has that in him. He just pulls it out very, very rarely.
Yeah.
And since we can't seem to redirect headers accurately, fuck it. Let's say just switch them up and just launch shots and see what happens.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout, to be fair. Me personally, I don't know why, like this, even though we've got 3 in the very heart of midfield, Decore, Gay and Onana, with McNeil and Iwobi either side, I feel like the lines were still getting broken and they were passing by us too easily, especially against Villa. Decore was caught trying to press and he just literally just pass it around them, take one step to the side, pass it around them, and they were more or less in. So I don't know why we just don't go with a 4-2-3-1 and just have Iwobi behind, maybe Mopai or Sims, and then put Gray out on the left. I think 2 holding midfielders like Gay and Onana would be pretty solid. I don't think you need Decore in there because it just confuses things, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll move on to the defense actually, because Andrew, Connor Cody for Aston Villa's second goal, he gets absolutely rinsed. He gets caught flat-footed. He just breezes by him and he gets the shot away with absolute ease. So, what would you do with him? Would you put Yerry Mina in for a game like this and just try and wind them up?
What I would do is push Tarky to the right.
Yeah.
Put Godfrey in the left, and then sub Mina on later as the wind-up, kind of like Mopai was used against them last game.
Yeah.
I think you'll need Godfrey's pace to cover Saka with Mykhalenko.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do personally. I don't think Cody is trustworthy at all right now. And it's so messed up because of all the things that you would expect to happen. If I told you before the season, we're going to have Frank Lampard and Sean Dyche. We will get more touches in the opposition box under Dyche. We will botch them. That's different. And Cody will be a worse defender under Dyche than he was under Lampard. Like, what the fuck is that?
It's weird, isn't it? It's so weird. You know, Dyche is notorious for improving defenders. We saw it with Michael Keane and, you know, Ben Mee and Tarkowski, obviously, but Connor Cody's gone backwards. It's such a strange one.
I feel like they've
go on,
they've been on a. I feel like they've just been on a slow slope like of a decline. Like even Tarkowski's not as good as he was at the beginning of the season when we were holding this sort of little record that we had of conceding the least amount of goals.
Yeah.
And I feel like it could even be a case of just that, you know, even though they're probably the most two trustworthy and the fittest centre halves we've got, that one of them needs dropping or just resting, if you don't want to use the word drop. Like Andrew said, putting Godfrey in, Graham would probably hate that idea and probably prefer Mina, but I think I just think it'd help for at least one game, just a rest even. Because it just feels like now that we're starting to get to that point where it's like Cody's got that mistake in each game, whether it's like an own goal or or it is just the fact that we've just got no pace across that back four at all.
Yeah. Well, it could be down to the fact, obviously, before Cody came to us, and this is the reason why he wanted the move, was because he was just sitting on the bench at Wolves just before he came to us. So maybe it's a case of we threw him in and now he's a little bit tired. Lee, what would you do in that situation, mate? Do you like the idea of Godfrey or Yeremina?
Yeah, do you know what? I never thought of that. I actually like that idea of what Andrew said, throwing him a left centre half, basically.
Yeah.
Put Tarkowski on the right, because I know Shane's just said there, like, resting one of them. I don't think you can rest or drop Tarkowski.
No.
He's been solid. I mean, you watch that second goal and he nearly trips over Cody, because it's like he knows that. And the worst thing about that goal is that's not even Buendia's strongest foot.
Yeah.
He done him. He done Connor Cody on Connor Cody's stronger side on his weaker side.
Yeah. He got planted.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Cody was obviously played the full game and Buendia came on fresh off the bench. He always seems to score against us, but it's still no excuse.
Yeah.
And I mean, for the majority of the season, Cody's been solid, but we've said it for weeks and weeks now. Defense, whether they're fit enough or not, or whether they're good, we have got options in defense, and we've got once Garner comes back, we've got options in midfield.
Yeah.
So if someone's not performing or it's not working, at least Dice has got the tools. Maybe not the best tools, but he's got tools to change it up. So, no, I actually do like that idea. I never thought of that, because everyone's been saying about Godfrey at left back. But he obviously is left footed, so he can't. Well, he's right footed, but he can play. He plays very well on the left side.
Yeah, which is weird. So, he plays better on the left, even though he is right footed. It's a strange one. What about just throwing him in at left back to try and cope with Saka?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Not just yet. Because even though Mykolenko hasn't been playing well, I don't think Mykolenko's been like the reason why we've conceded goals. Unless he makes a glaring, obvious mistake where he gets done, which he did a few weeks ago, but seemed to recover a little bit after that. I can't really see him getting dropped. I mean, as Graham has been going on for weeks and a few other people, Vinagre can't even get in the team. So Mykolenko must be doing something good in training for Lampard and now Dyche to carry on picking him.
I think, well, I was just going to say, mate, I think Mykolenko's game is he plays better when his back is to the wall and he's trying to just defend in our own box and just get clearances in, because when he's like halfway up the field and the ball comes over, he does get done. So when he's having to spin back around, then we're bang in trouble. He doesn't deal with it at the first opportunity, which is where, Godfrey could come in handy. I feel like at the Emirates and he's got the pace to get back. Mikalenko doesn't have the pace to get back. But Shane, what's your thoughts on that, mate?
No, yeah. I mean, majority of the fan base have been calling out for it for weeks.
Yeah.
That's all I really see on Twitter anyway. It's just that Godfrey needs to go at left back. It feels like a more solid option. Another one I was talking about as well the other night was and some people might think that it's too late now to start experimenting or whatever, but just to see whether, Gay is another one of those that because we haven't got Garner back yet, it feels like we're being forced to use these players when they're not in any form at all.
Yeah.
It's just seeing how Holgate does as a holding midfielder, whether he stays as a 6 or, like you said, if we were to play a 4-2-3-1, that he's next to Onana.
Yeah. I don't think he would be too bad at that. We seen him against West Ham away last season, and he done pretty solid, and he actually scored in that game as well.
I feel like, because sometimes you feel like you can't. I mean, at the end of last season, he sort of come into form before he got injured, but sometimes it feels like you can't. Like, if you were to have a centre-half partnership with him and Godfrey or Mina and stuff, maybe it'd be different with Tarkowski or Cody.
Yeah.
That he's not reliable enough. But as a holding midfielder, where he's got people behind him and then he's got, midfield help in front of him as well. Like, I feel like it could be an option. Like I say, even if it is just maybe not against Arsenal, but just something that I thought about. But
yeah,
I mean, I feel
Holgate is Holgate is David Luiz without the free kicks. Like he's not quite a centre half, but he doesn't kind of fit into midfield. He's a bit of both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Minus the free kicks, obviously, because he can't score for shit. But
and he has a bit of a wind up as well.
He is. He's got that shit house in him, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Which is not bad, but at the same time, he does do it in the wrong time sometimes, and he gets us more into trouble than he does wind them up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that was our little Arsenal preview, and hopefully we can get back on and I'd take a draw. Just as long as we don't get absolutely battered, I think a draw would be an absolutely solid result at the Emirates. By no means is this a free hit. I don't believe in such things as a free hit. The fixtures coming up now are really, really tough. So I feel like if we can get a draw, that would feel like a win for me. I don't know about how you feel.
Yeah, well, taking 4 points off what possibly could end up being the champions of England.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame we can't take any points off anyone else at the minute.
Yeah, would be nice.
No, I'd be happy with a draw, massively.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just more of a confidence thing, I think, as well. Like you say, if you don't get battered, you go out, put a good performance in, and it's a 0-0 or it's a draw, or we nick a win. Going into these games that we've got, where we've got this short window, where we've got Chelsea, Spurs, and United in. I mean, Chelsea not doing well at all, but those games and these games this back end of the season can go either way. But
yeah,
I just think it's massive for confidence that we just don't get battered.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel like away from home, Dice had his number the last time that it could be less pressure on the lads away from home. So you never know.
Could be. Andrew, how do you feel? Do you see this one as a free hit, considering that we are in the bottom three right now? Like,
no, I don't. I want it to be, but I like Shane's strategy of not in the face.
Yeah.
But I would say this is probably weirdly one of the most winnable of that bunch because, like you said, Spurs, Chelsea, United. What I see happening is Chelsea will sack Potter right before us, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see, the city sanctions will happen right at the wrong moment. And then Bowley hires Pep, and then we're fucked.
He also signed Danny Ings and he scores a hat-trick.
Right, that too. So, yeah, this is the one we win. Fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we're right. Should I even bother doing score predictions? Or, I mean, you can go for it. Lee, do you want to start on that?
3-1.
Yeah, I done 3-1 Arsenal on my Super 6. But I'm going to be a bit more positive on this. I'm going to say 1-1.
Yeah, I'll go with 1-1 as well. Shane, what about you, mate?
I'm just gonna go 0-0. Keep a
0-0.
clean sheet, and we can't score any goals. So
Yeah, that would be nice actually. 0-0. Andrew, 3-1. Which way?
3-1, baby. Jorginho penalty. Saka does Mikalenko. And let's see what else.
Michael Keane on goal.
Yeah, now Odegaard worldy.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then,
have you seen our last five results? Lost 2-0, won 1-0, lost 2-0, won 1-0, lost 2-0. So by that account, we're winning 1-0, boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
and Dice has got a good record against Arteta as well.
Yeah.
There we go. Well,
Get the
But
bets
that
on
always
1-0.
usually goes against Everton when we come into these games. It's a player hasn't scored for so long, or a manager hasn't won so many times against our manager, and there's a 16-year-old who's making his debut. Go on, you can have a goal. So we're trying to stay optimistic.
It's tough, but hopefully we can be back with the reaction and a nice positive result and a bit of tactical analysis as to how we got there. That would be the dream. But yeah, Andrew, Lee, Shane, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one.